As you continue listening, you will find out I was told by my visitors that I have a unique quality, a quality that creates a type of atmosphere around me. Basically, my presence opens a portal between our world and the unknown, but I eventually learned to take everything my visitors told me with a grain of salt. But in the beginning, I hung on their every word. I believed them wholeheartedly because of the first thing they had ever told me. My wife and I gave up our apartment. My mother-in-law allowed us to stay with her in my wife's old bedroom. Our plan was to stay long enough to find a home closer to the family. My brother-in-law's passing continued to have a domino effect on our lives. My wife and I stayed up late. We always stayed up late if we didn't have to work the next day. Because I was up late, my visitors came early morning hours. I always suspected these entities were responsible for me not having a child. And this particular morning, my theory would become factual. I'm awoken by a calming voice. The voice is deep, but there is a gentle tone. I could tell right away it was a male voice.
Brandon,
the voice says softly. I open my eyes, not sure if I actually heard something. The soft early morning light is glowing through the windows. The sun isn't up yet, so the blinds are a shade of blue. I start to fall back to sleep. As my eyes close, I hear the voice again.
Brandon,
I open my eyes and look at my wife. She is asleep next to me.
Brandon, you need to listen.
The voice is coming from everywhere, but also nowhere. I hear it inside my ears, or is it inside my head? I raise up in bed and look around. It's just our small day bed in the room, not much else. There is a set of wooden planked closet doors, the bedroom door and a bathroom door that is planked as well. Brandon, look at me. I sense the direction I need to look, but nothing is there. I scan the room again, finding nothing. I'm starting to feel like I am imagining things, but my attention is grabbed unexpectedly by a blue light. It appears in the area of the room I first looked in. The light is small at first, about the shape and size of a softball. I hear the voice again. I'm here, Brandon. The blue orb of light is hovering a few feet off the floor. I look back at my wife. She is still sleeping. I feel no desire to try and wake her. I am actually feeling very calm. I look back towards the light. I watch as a blue portal slowly opens behind the blue orb. The portal is a darker shade of blue than the orb. I watch the portal grow about 4 feet in diameter. As it is growing, it takes on the consistency of water. I am looking at a sky blue glowing orb that is hovering in front of a dark blue glowing body of water, and I am not afraid at all. I start to ask what it wants, but before I can speak, the voice stops me. Don't say anything. Only listen. We know you have wanted a child for a long time. I am here to let you know. We are now allowing you to have a child. That is all, Brandon. Goodbye. After the voice was finished speaking, the orb entered the portal slowly. As the orb is entering the portal starts slowly collapsing in on itself. When the portal shrinks to about the size of a basketball, it starts to flicker like a candle before finally burning out. Once the light is gone, I hear a gust of wind and a loud door slamming sound. I feel myself lose consciousness and I fall back in bed. I wake up a couple hours later. I am left wondering if the experience was just a dream, but I would not have to wonder for long. Just days later, my wife and I find out we are having a child. I immediately recall my experience, and I wonder why. Why now? And why did they tell me about it? I did not know it would take nearly 10 more years before I would find answers to these questions. In the past, I told my wife vaguely about the experience with the blue orb. I just omitted a lot of details. When someone doesn't believe me, I don't really bother telling them about my experiences. The thing about my wife was, I never really knew if she didn't believe me, or if she was just refusing to believe me. I sometimes felt like she didn't want to believe me. This made my life of encounters and experiences much harder, because I would have to endure the torment of my attackers without ever having someone to confide in. I once caught an entity on video, and my wife still refused to believe it. But honestly, I think she was afraid. She was able to cope better by blocking it all out. After all, the entity in the video seemed very interested in her. For a short time, I set my phone up to record as we slept. My phone had 8 hours of possible record time. But by the time I was finished with my experiment, I would end up having less than an hour of record time. It was absolutely unexplainable. One day, as I was going through my footage from the night before, the video stopped for no reason and was deleted. After relentlessly trying to find the video with no luck, I pushed record on my camera to find out my 8 hours of record time was cut in half. No matter what I did, the 8 hours would not come back to my phone. I even tried a factory reset on my phone. The reset did nothing. Losing record time kept happening until I was left with a small amount of record time. When I finally caught the entity on camera, I was very confused by what I was seeing. My wife looked at it one time and refused to look again. I showed her family and my family the entity I had captured on film. Everyone was just as confused as me. It just didn't add up. The description I had given people of the entities who haunted me did not match what we were seeing in the video. As I tell this story, I know exactly what was in the video, but at the time of the recording, I was totally clueless. It would take a very long time for me to comprehend what was in the video. After showing several people the video, my phone started glitching a lot. As a precaution, I emailed the video to myself, and just a couple of days after I emailed the video, my phone would become lost. I was never able to recover the video in my email. My next phone had maybe enough memory to film 30 minutes, so I didn't bother trying to film anymore. But I would never forget what I captured in the first video. I cannot divulge what was in the video yet. In order to do so, I would have to facilitate a time jump in the story, nearly to the end of it. I was just touching on the subject to show how my wife would not believe the entity was right there on film. She knew I did not have the means of doctoring footage, but she still denied it being real. But like I said, I think she needed it to not be real, because just the thought of these entities coming in our home was scary for her. So it was better for her to simply not believe. Now, I wrote this chapter to explain my earlier experiences with the spirit realm. Even as I write this, I don't understand for sure what I was seeing. I want to believe I was seeing my brother-in-law's spirit, and somehow he was interacting with my wife. Unfortunately, as we get deeper into my life story, you will understand why it is not an option for me. I'm not saying that I know everything. There was a definite possibility that what I saw was my wife's brother. I'm just saying that the spirit realm Hollywood portrays does not go at all with the spirit realm that I know of. I am afraid I have said too much already. I must digress now. I have tried my best to keep my present beliefs separated from the Brandon in this story. The following chapters will be of Brandon, whom goes from simple Christianity to an entire collection of beliefs. I encountered multiple alien species throughout my adult life, and it seemed like each species had something different to say. And in the beginning, I was hanging on their every word. So it was, to say the least, a very confusing time for me, because as soon as I broke bread with one race of aliens, another race would show up, telling me something that completely contradicted the last. So bear with me, please, as I tell the story of how I ended up conversing with my worst enemy. We will get there soon enough. So this thing right here, right, with these entities coming to me saying that they are allowing me to have a child, this was all part of a lifelong deception, okay? This was not some great thing for them to do. Like they call the shots. They're the ones that's going to let me have a child. I mean, maybe they did let me have a child, but at the same time, them coming to me and telling me about it, I mean, honestly, it could have been by complete chance because, they slipped up. My wife had went to a doctor's appointment and they happened to do a pregnancy test on her. So technically, the pregnancy test had been taken before the entity came. We just didn't find out about it. She had taken all these tests and forgot all about it, right? So my wife's pregnancy technically had probably already been confirmed by medical staff before the blue orb came. So see, they knew that they had slipped up, and if there's some kind of harvesting going on with this stuff, they slipped up, and we got confirmation that my wife was pregnant. So they said, oh, well, let's do some deception work and go in here and tell him that we're letting him have it. Because it'd been kind of funny if, my wife had found out that we were pregnant, the pregnancy test came back that we're pregnant, and then all of a sudden, no, well, you're not. The test was wrong. I mean, because as far as I know, this isn't some pharmacy pregnancy test. Like she was tested by professionals in the medical field. So that blue orb came and it's like, oh, Brandon, we're going to let you have a baby. And that stuck with me forever. Like I pondered that for the longest time. Like, why? I know for sure that my daughter had a big part in keeping me and my wife together at some of our darkest times in our marriage. And I know that my daughter's genes, like me and my wife, our DNA makes for one intellectual, attractive child. Like my daughter's intellect and wisdom is beyond comprehension. She has my common sense and my wisdom and my empathy. She also has her mother's book smarts, her mother's trigonometry type skills, if you will, algebra. My daughter is highly school intelligent, and she's incredibly intellectual at the same time. She's incredibly empathetic, while at the same time she's incredibly manipulative, and she can get her way. It's really strange. If you were going to splice two DNAs to make some incredible race, my daughter would definitely fit that bill. So, if these entities were doing that, have been doing that, and they seen the type of human they could produce by keeping me and my wife in the same bed and just making it a lot easier for them to splice DNA. It's there's all kinds of theories. I pondered it. Like, why are they so in control? And even after that, there was a situation, but I'll talk about that when we get to it. But yeah, it was definitely a profound moment, and it stuck with me. And I'm standing in the house right now that me and my wife moved to right after that experience. Me and my wife came here to this little house. It wasn't so brand new. My brother remodeled it since, but we lived in this tiny little one-bedroom house. It was just so weird the way it was, the floor plan. But now it's really nice. It's a two-bedroom house, and it's really nice. But that's the house that we would end up moving into after that. Ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, comment, subscribe. Share this video if you want. That would be awesome. And thanks, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. And thanks for all the support. I'm really grateful. I really am. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to Mac and Creeps, Aliens, Monsters, and the Supernatural. A true story of a terrorized life.